are times I wonder if I'm really alone. There are times I wonder if I'm true. There are times when I feel alone in a full room. There are times I feel alone with you. You are enough of you. And there's always a love for you.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm real or if I'm seen.
I see everything, you are enough for me.
You are enough for you.
So my history of relationships is I had lived in the world as a straight person, as a straight female, almost all of my life until I was about 35. And then I was realizing more and more that something wasn't quite right. Like I had been taking a birth control pill from 16 to maybe 34. And when I went off the pill, I began feeling differently about the long-term relationship I was in. I was in a 9-year relationship with a man where we'd bought a car together as a cis man, and we had, it was pretty much we were almost married, but we weren't sort of thing. But that relationship had started to really wither, and it withered even more when I went off the pill, and I started having a really big crush on a cis female friend, and I said, well, something is strange here. And eventually I decided to end the relationship and go and figure out what was going on with me. So I figured, well, I had this crush on my friend, so I must be a lesbian. And so then I went in my very type A way and I researched what kind of lesbian I was, because I was on OkCupid and there were all these words that I didn't know, all these different terms and like types of lesbians. But I kept joking to people like, I really wish that like I could date a gay man, and people would laugh. And then I realized more and more as I got into my current relationship that, I kind of did want to date a gay man, and it turned out my partner is a trans man who identifies as gay, and like it works out really well. So in this relationship, it's perfect. In the past, it had just been this weird kind of hum in the background that I hadn't really clarified. And more recently, in the last year, I think, I found a book, Girl Fag, which was kind of a helpful concept as well, but still wasn't quite it. But it's nice that somebody's writing about that, because I couldn't find any model for me anywhere. I felt really lost and strange, especially when I thought I had to be a lesbian, and I didn't realize that wasn't me.
My gender affected my relationships. That's not really something I don't think I've really thought about that at all. Maybe my relationships with my soldiers are a little bit different because I am a woman, and most of them are men, and so there's always a little bit of controversy there, but I feel like, especially because I'm not attracted to them, it kind of works itself out a little bit.
My gender has affected my relationships in both good and bad ways. With biological family, it's created a bit of a separation on my end. I feel like the black sheep of the family. I'm the only one that has gender shit, I suppose. And in friendships, it has been a really beautiful thing to connect with people on, and especially in Austin, there's a very big trans and queer community. So I have found my group of friends through that. Romantically, gender is probably the reason why I can't really be in a relationship. I am so fluid that it's hard for me to feel like I fit with anybody, because it just never feels right. And I have found that when I'm dating more masculine people, I feel like I'm supposed to take up a more feminine space. I'm sort of obsessed with gender and gender roles and gender expression and identity. And so because it's always on my mind, it's very difficult for me to figure out where I fit in any situation. And so I wish I just didn't think about it, but I do. Like if I have sex with someone, my gender identity the next day feels different than it had when I wasn't sleeping with people. So it's sort of showing someone my female body and showing them that that's what I have underneath my clothes causes me to either feel like, oh yeah, I'm just female, all this gender stuff is over, or it causes me to feel like super uncomfortable and like I have to transition as soon as possible. So it affects it quite a bit in the romantic and the sexual world. My gender identity has really informed a lot of my friendships lately and has really allowed me to be more honest with myself and thus more honest with friends around me. As far as romantic relationships go, a lot of the insecurities that have come up for me as I bring exploring my gender identity more to the forefront of my life has made it a little difficult to navigate those spaces.
So, because I lived in lesbian world, I often found myself gravitating towards women who identified as bisexual, just naturally. And often in the gay and lesbian world, there can be a sense of shunning bisexual people, either invalidating their experiences and saying, oh, well, you're actually just gay, or oh, you're actually just straight and you're like a tourist. So I definitely encountered that, and I wasn't out in terms of really the openness that was happening around being okay around males or having any attraction towards them. But I found it was easier to connect with women who had an openness towards being attracted to both genders. I found that they were more authentic in having a relationship, and they had started to sort of like slough off that feeling of like, I should be behaving towards you in this specific way because you are either a man or a woman. So I found that being with bisexual women in particular was very validating, but I didn't understand on a conscious level why as a lesbian. And so in my current relationship with my wife, we've been married for 2 years and we've been together for 3. She has severe PTSD because of an old relationship with a cis man. And so she's been with me through my transition. And as I started to transition, she had a lot of triggers come up because I was starting to become more masculinized in my features. And so that affected my relationship quite a lot. And we had to go through weekly therapy for a couple of years before things kind of settled. And now it's great because we are able to be entirely our authentic selves and our gender identities, and not step on one another's toes in that sense. So that's really amazing, that sense of being able to be ourselves and not have to be validated by our partner's gender identity.
It's pushed my relationships with a lot of folks to be much more honest and much more real and present. It has decreased the amount of time that I really spend with a lot of people. I do spend a lot of time by myself now. At least, I spend a lot of my time by myself or with other queer identified people. Most of my time is not really spent with cisgender or straight people.
In my relationships, I guess, sometimes there's I feel like people have some expectations in female relationships, like there's supposed to be a more masculine one, there's one that's supposed to play the male role, and I've established in all of my relationships that that's not going to be a thing, but I know that is something that I am affected by when it comes to society, because my friends will find out I'm dating someone new and they're like, oh, well which one's the guy? And I'm just like, well, that's the worst question ever, so.
Gender identity has had a lot of positive effects on relationships and a lot of negatives with my family and with people that I grew up with. He's starting to explore and finding these things that healed me with my gender identity has come with a price to pay, with being difficult to have relationships with my blood family. I find myself ascribing a lot to very binary things, whether it be ascribing to being a lesbian in certain crowds, or being a gay man in certain crowds, or being a woman, or being a man, a trans man even at that, in certain crowds. So me knowing all this is good and it's awesome and it's healing, but it's difficult to navigate relationships, period, just being able to express that. When it comes to romantic relationships, it's good. It's really good to have, being very centered and forgiving, and I'm still exploring. I'm never gonna find an exact definition for what my gender is, but to know that and not confine it helps me explore things in spiritual manners with partners and friendships. Yeah, it helped me find my tribe.
Check out our new merch collaboration with Tomboy Society. They're donating 50% of the proceeds from all Roaming Gender apparel to the project.
Don't forget to subscribe in order to catch the next Roaming Gender episode. The intention of Roaming Gender is to offer a platform for any and all folks to share their story on the intersectionality of their gender, race, class, ability, sexual orientation, religion, age, and nationality. If you're looking to get involved, donate, or be interviewed for Roaming Gender, visit us at www.roaminggender.com.